An unknown number texted me, "Do you know what your husband really does every Friday?" I stared at my phone for like 5 minutes straight. My heart was racing. My husband, Jake, works late every Friday. He's a manager at a warehouse, and he always says Friday inventory takes forever. I texted back, "Who is this?" No response. I waited an hour. Nothing. I tried calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail with no greeting. That whole week, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was Jake cheating? Was he in trouble? Every time he left for work on Friday, I felt sick to my stomach. The next Friday rolled around, and Jake kissed me goodbye like normal. He said, "Inventory night, babe. I'll be home around 10. As soon as he left, I grabbed my keys. I know it's crazy, but I had to know. I drove to his warehouse and parked across the street where he couldn't see my car. His truck was in the parking lot. I sat there for 2 hours just watching. Around 8 o'clock, Jake walked out with 2 other guys from work. They got in Jake's truck and drove off. I followed them. I felt like I was in a spy movie. They drove to the other side of town and pulled into this community center parking lot. I parked far away and watched Jake and his coworkers walk inside carrying bags. What was in those bags? I waited 15 minutes, then went up to the building. There was a sign on the door that said Friday Night Youth Group. I walked in and followed the sound of voices down the hall. When I looked through the window of the room, I couldn't believe what I saw. Jake was sitting on the floor with like 20 teenagers in a circle. They were all talking and laughing. One kid was crying and Jake had his hand on the kid's shoulder. I stood there confused. A woman walked up behind me and said, "Can I help you?" I jumped. She introduced herself as Maria, the youth program director. I told her I was Jake's wife and asked what was going on. She smiled real big and said, "You don't know? Jake's been volunteering here every Friday for 8 months. He mentors kids from rough backgrounds." My mouth just hung open. She explained that Jake heard about the program through a coworker whose nephew was in it. The program needed male role models and Jake signed up immediately. He takes these kids out for food, helps them with homework, talks them through problems. Maria said, "He's honestly one of our best volunteers. These kids love him." I felt tears coming. I asked why he never told me. Maria said, "A lot of our volunteers keep it private. Some do it because they don't want recognition. They just want to help." I watched through the window for another 10 minutes. Jake was now playing basketball with the kids in the gym. He looked so happy. I quietly left before he saw me. When I got home, I looked at that text message again. I replied, "Yes, I do, and I'm proud of him." A few seconds later, I got a response. It was Maria. She said, "Good. He made me promise not to tell you, but I thought you should know what an amazing man you married." He was embarrassed about volunteering, thought it might seem like he was showing off. I was sitting on the couch crying when Jake got home at 10. He walked in and saw me and panicked. He said, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" I just hugged him and said, "Why didn't you tell me about the youth center?" His face went pale. He sat down and explained that his dad was never around when he was a kid. He always promised himself that if he could help other kids who didn't have dads, he would. But he felt weird telling me because he didn't want me to think he was bragging. I told him that was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. I was mad he kept it secret, but also more in love with him than ever. The next Friday, I went with him to the youth center. Those kids really do love him. One boy told me that Jake was the only adult male who ever showed up for him consistently. Now I volunteer there too. And I never did figure out how Maria got my number to send that first text. When I asked her, she just winked and said, "I have my ways."